Hello. Okay, we're this is happening. So we're still figuring out this setup. It was so improvised in the last minute, but this whole dynamic about the speaker is like so not so foreign to me. So please ignore this whole format because like the first two workshops we just done it really casually. So, but for the sake of documentation, we're trying to do it differently this time. So first of all, thank you for being here again. I can't believe we've been through the 3 months already. I'm so excited for what's to come. And there's already so much momentum picking up as season's getting warmer. And I'm so excited to have some of the folks to be on air in June. Today I'll do most of the driving the car a little bit more, but Nikhil, my co-pilot, will be co-piloting for us in terms of like moving the conversation, but also adding some really key insights as well. So how are guys feeling? How's everybody feeling? Good. We did some events, which we'll highlight really in a quick second. So yeah, if we want to move to the next one. So some things happened this past month. Some mixes that featuring some new faces and also some familiar faces in the city. So DJ Abdi did like a J-rock, J-punk mix from his childhood. Super fun to listen to. Not usually my palette, but like some moments like this, I get to be exposed to new music and chosen by people that I know, and that actually adds a new layer to that piece. So it's not recommended by, let's say, Spotify or any kind of like foreign entity that is not my friends. Smooth Transition, Sarah, who's like a cornerstone in the community, did like a really intimate and introspective spring mix. I really encourage you to check it out. And then this week coming, it's Geneva, who'll be doing more like techno forward mix. So I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, check those out. All of those mixes will be archived on SoundCloud and also on our website. Like I said, today the keyword you hear me say a lot is documenting. Documenting. That whole piece will come back at the end of today. So yes. Music for Thursday. Some folks have shown up. For example, some folks here, not to put people in the spot, some folks here as well. Music for Thursday. Great success. One of the best Thursdays I've ever had. I can only speak for myself. But it's also like a lot of the work, it's like working with selectors like Nikhil and also Vanya, who's not here, but will be here shortly today. There's a lot of fun stuff happen behind the scene that make the night happen. And I really want to, like I said, document it again, and like just writing about how that night happened, like all the work happened and all the work that can happen after. And we raised $310 to be exact for the Hamilton Legal Defense Fund, which is amazing. And also thank you everybody for coming. Nikhil, do you want to speak more about do you have any thoughts or any reflections about the night? Or
No, that was the first time that it was fun to prepare for the night as well. We hung out a few times to prepare for the mix and share our music and organize the set to see how we were going to perform over the course of the night. However, everything changed over the course of the time too, and then on the day off, we just kind of went with the flow. We did decide to play 1 hour each, and then our selection was just based on what the vibe was at the club as well. And it was very dancey in the first couple of hours. So Tanya and I played a lot of upbeat, higher tempo, dancey music, and then Jeff closed up the night. So that was nice to figure out how the wavelength of the night goes on. And as I found out today, Jeff told me that our subwoofer wasn't on. So a lot of the bass was just coming from the speakers up here, like in the club. So that's something that we learned. And
yes.
we weren't able to record. Nadia and I tried to record our set so we could listen back and analyze it to be like, okay, what worked, what didn't work. But it turns out the program didn't record that either.
Yes, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
Pandemic Subai times where it was just a lot more dancing on the dance floor, and that felt great.
I think there's a noticeable difference between Thursday and Friday. The way people are behaving socially and musically, it's so different. I also went there yesterday. That's when I found out our sub wasn't on, because yesterday I went to support some of my folks. Their sound is so bassy, and I was like, we didn't sound like that. What happened? So I was like, we didn't turn on our sub, and like no one. I mean, something we learn as we go. It's always a learning experience. So we have an announcement later on. But yeah, we're happy to move on. Today, let's jump into what's happening today. So we have covered, for those folks who have joined in just for this month, the first two ones we're talking about we're doing some of the recap today, but also the one in March is some of the more technical introduction. But today we'll kind of combine them both, but giving a little bit more context about culture, scene building, and also how we play in this kind of context together. So we talk about sign up. Some of the folks have signed up already. Doing a little bit of recap, and then do a group activity with over there. And then the code is where today main section is going to be about. How do we get people ready? And then finally wrapping up with a brief conversation about culture, stuff like that. Yeah? So thanks to the folks who already signed up with the sign up form. Folks on the left here, thanks again, Paige, for signing up. The form itself, it's pretty straightforward. This is welcome to everybody to fill out. Mikey also signed up as well. So it just asks you simple information about like what your name is, what kind of expectations, or and then when you scroll down a little bit, there's different options where you can choose how your final showcase want to be. For those who are joining the first time, we'll get to connect a little bit. You're also more than welcome to kind of complete the form as well. But yeah, I'm guessing you have more questions about what it is exactly. But then the form itself is so self-explanatory. I feel like we did a really good job of consolidating all the information and how you can choose your own adventure there. So yeah, it's pretty simple. So we'll keep that open for April 14th, which is tomorrow, I believe. So if I can rely on the folks who are here today to ask other people to finish the form, like not ask, but like encourage them. Like, hey guys, like I went to the final workshop today. Like if you guys can finish the form together. So yeah, more the merrier. But if not, the less is also merrier. So that we can actually spend more time to like guide you through the whole process, give a little bit more hands-on experience. I think that's also equally rewarding too. So yes, and then the slots will be finalized and we'll announce it the first week of May. But obviously we'll reach out and confirm it like one-to-one first if you're okay to take that on, and then we'll announce it all together in May. On Discord, yes, yeah, sounds good. Quick recap. We won't spend too much time on it, but I just want to bring out some ideas that we did cover, and just to bring everybody into this place again. So we're DJ Collective. I'm gonna sound so tiring. We're doing things locally. We're creating this musical life with the intention of like making it more fun to make things happen in the city. Challenges. You can go on and on about resources, venues, stereotypes about DJing, the lack of musical education, whether it's a high school setting or middle school setting. We're also in the midst of like, celebrity culture, especially with social media. So these are just some of the challenges with how do we kind of solve this musical problem, this musical cultural problem, right? With the mission, if you go down again, is to create this musical ecosystem. Part of the musical ecosystem, I think this is not a solve all and all solution we're proposing. It's not that self-important, but there's some things happening here. creating conditions that allow people to play and flow between different places of knowing, and like from joining a workshop today and then eventually signing up to play on air, which you guys are part of in that journey already, which I'm so grateful for. And then ending up in playing in like an in-person events. And that kind of creates this whole cycle. And it's not just a one-off workshop where we teach you like beat matching, like and then nothing happens out of it, right? Like there's more to it. So yeah, I won't talk too much about it. Mixing spectrum. I think Nikhil, you want to take over to talk more about the different kinds of mixes?
Yeah, so in terms of the musical ecosystem, and earlier when we were talking about the stereotypes about DJing, we tried to ask folks about what they thought DJing is, what they perceive DJs to be, what kind of DJs do they like listening to, and then sometimes there's a tunneling effect where you might go to a club and think that DJs just play drops, you gotta play drops, you need to play a lot of transitions, and just keep the dance floor going on. But with places, we're trying to create an atmosphere where it's more about the selection and the curation aspect of DJing as well. So we've shared a bunch of these different links to various types of mixes that you can curate and make. And there could be like a radio format where it's simply just playing a selection of songs. You could have some samples. You could have your friends come and talk to you about the music that you're playing, your inspirations. You could highlight some of your favorite bands, your local bands, your friends who have some unreleased music. You could straight up just plan a dance party set, and we might have some events planned where you can express yourself in that way. Even when there's like larger scale DJs, they even have sets that are curatorial based, so it's not so much about the technical aspects of DJing, but it's more so about selection and what kind of music you like to listen to that you want to share with people. We could have some deep dive in certain artists and genres as well. If you're just in love with a couple of artists or one artist that you just only want to play their music and talk about what inspires you about them, you can just have an hour-long set of just, you can literally play a whole album and talk about it, why you love that album so much. So there's a large spectrum, and I personally like to talk about this so you can have a lot of different things to choose from, and you don't feel pigeonholed to be like, well, I need to play house music or I need to play techno music. You should play whatever you want to play, and we are encouraging that on places. If you choose a radio slot, or if we throw some like day parties and stuff too, you can just play whatever you want, and we encourage that. That way, everyone else learns about different kinds of music.
Yeah, exactly. And I think to give more context about Thursday, right? Like I think we have very different mixing styles. Like I'm more of the dancier side of things. I feel like you probably live on the more radio, like 90 hip hop. You're informed by hip hop. So like, how do we mix together in one setting? Like if we're gonna do a night together, how are we gonna complement each other, and how I can modify myself to make it more, find like something in the middle. But also just showing different variety. I think that's really important. I think I'm also just learning. I mean, like I like difference. Like I like to work with different people who come from different kind of genres, but also showing each other. It's like a nerd culture. Like you're showing people your favorite things, and you're trying to make them fall in love to it as well. So yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, and then initially if you experiment and just play weird stuff, then slowly and gradually you will develop a style that will flow well with each other. You can't expect that everything's going to be smooth all the time from the beginning, and that's why if you express yourself first in whatever weird kinds of music that you like listening to, we're encouraging that a lot more than being like, well, since I'm on the controller, I need to play 120 BPM tracks because that's what generally the stereotypes about DJs are. But also, there's nothing wrong with that. Dance music is fun, and
On a Friday, yeah, on a Friday, Saturday, yes.
where you learn technical skills as well. And if you have a controller, if you're investing in some hardware, then those tracks are also very important to learn very specific skills, because radio DJing, as we've shown in the second workshop, is quite easy. And once you know the basics
exactly.
some jam sessions as well.
People first philosophy. This is something we touched on first workshop. So, which I'll also touch upon at the very end of the workshop too. Like some of the key terms that come up, it's algorithm hierarchy. Spotify being a huge part of what our musical listening habits now. Like, what is it telling us? How are we reacting, or how is it playing such a big part of our culture now, of our musical culture? Like, maybe there's a better way to kind of make it about our people first. That means working with people, working with selectors, or listening to what your friends are listening, and just like situating music more, concretely about the place itself. I'll show more some of the resources by Elijah, who's like a cultural writer from the UK. So more to that will come. So if you're gonna go to the top on the right. So let's get started today with all the jamble and mambling. Let's get started. I think someone is coming. Anticipation. Who is that? Okay, I'm just paranoid. Okay, so we'll spend. Is there someone? No. So let's start today's exercise. So this part won't be recorded, so I'll just turn off the mic. So we will do these 4 questions. So that table will have someone needs to volunteer to write the questions. Maybe Jen, can I assign you to write down the question on the 4 sticky notes? And then we'll spend 10 minutes jumping the table and write down whatever answers you want to stick onto. So as a group, we'll see how the conversation is happening. It's kind of like a DJ set kind of way, like we're all jumping into it, kind of like molding ideas together. So what have you learned so far from the workshop? So folks who have joined through 2 or all the workshops, feel free to take an inventory of like what are some skills or some things you already learned when you started the workshop, and if you learned so successfully or not. So the second question comes into, what do you want to learn more of? Maybe there's something that we didn't really touch on that you really want to learn more of. Maybe it warrants a different kind of workshop or a different kind of setting. Maybe a more in-person teaching. Maybe you want to learn how to dance. You don't want to learn how to DJ. Like, fuck DJing. I just want to learn how to dance. Maybe there's also like a workshop that can happen. Like, that's a possibility, right? So it's not just going to be staying here. Or things you didn't get to learn. Let's say we didn't talk about, mixing in key, right? We didn't really talk about that, right? Like, maybe I can also bring it in, like write it down, right? How can we improve the workshop experience? So this is a conversation. I feel like I want to encourage folks to verbalize and also like make a conversation with us so that we can kind of mold the workshop experience for the next cohort, which hopefully will start in September. And then relying on some of you folks to kind of encourage people to join in as well and like help facilitate even. You can be the next facilitator. You can jump in. Let's say, I don't want to put you in a spotlight. Let's say Mikey finished the whole cohort and like maybe did an in-person event. You have like important insight to show the next cohort of students, right? The last one, it's a little bit tricky. So think about it. Like ask a question that you think will help others in the room. Tune into this like collective frequency. Like what do you think people will appreciate to know? Okay, I'll leave it at that. So we'll spend 10 minutes. I'll play some music, and 10 minutes I'll remind, and then 5 minutes you guys will take a look at each other's answers. And if there's something that sticks out really strongly, just leave a check mark tiny check mark at the bottom, so that we know, how people are feeling strongly about certain things. Does that make sense? Questions before we start? Okay, let's start it. So if we're gonna stand up together, I'll stand up too. And we can move over to, you will find the stickets on there as well. So Nikhil and I will be walking to kind of observe as well. So let's do it, 10 minutes, let's go. I forgot to mention important instruction. Just stick it on the table itself, okay? So like you can really do a quick fire round, okay? Sounds good. You can also write multiple sticky notes for one question. Yeah, okay. Okay, you have 4 minutes. So write as many as you want. There's no silly answers or questions. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, great reaction, folks. Thanks for contributing your ideas. So we're not there done just yet. So we'll spend 5 minutes, have you go through the table again and see what other people's inputs jump out to you that you agree and you feel strongly that we should talk about. So think about it's like we're collecting ideas. Now we're distilling them. We're checking in with the group. Okay, so go to the table and spend 5 minutes, get a marker, and look at other people's response. If you think that's like a really good, strong answer, put a little check mark at the bottom. So and after that we'll handpick a few and then talk about it in really high level. Does that make sense? Perfect. Okay, 5 minutes. Okay, sounds good. We have a minute left. Can't wait to see. Alrighty. Okay. How did it go? How did it go? Good stuff. Good. So I will. How do we do this? Improvise. I'm going to. Let's actually do the break now. How about that? So we'll take a 2-minute break, 3-minute break. Let's be generous. Me and Akil is gonna take a look, and then we're gonna pick 2 from each question to really address it, like pointed questions that we can address it right away. And if not, we can address it later on the Discord server, whether it's like a written form or like a more one-on-one conversation, stuff like that. So sorry for the up and down, but we'll see you in 3 minutes, okay? Okay, just like walk around, like chat with people. Amazing. 3 minutes. Okay. Okay, though. Welcome back, folks. Um, Putting down some of the key questions, answers for each questions. So we just go through them quickly and pointing out some trends here. Okay. So what have you learned so far from the workshop? The overall trend is people saying there are different perspectives of DJ culture. Yes. If there's one thing that we want people to get out from the series is like, not just like it's like we talk about diversity, right? Like, but then it's so in this institutional way of thinking. Oh, we want a diverse lineup, so let's curate a night with only women of color DJs, and that gets particularized. That feels pigeonholed. But how do we do diversity from within? What's the format that works for everybody? So this whole point is about like how do we open up the door and make the format itself so opening the door while you're entering it. Like we're all learning how to run events as we go, but we're documenting as much as possible, teaching as we learn it. I think that's the whole kind of goal about like the motivation behind it. So I appreciate some folks also kind of echoing that as well. I think that's super important. I think that also applies to any kind of creative practice that you do, whether it's sewing, whether it's like city, like being part of city and having a little more active role of like decision making, all those different stuff. It's part of it too. Growing community also pretty much aligned with the first response, but more about again community is such a really abstract world, right? Like, but what happens with the like? Who are the people in that community? That means like, to say there's a community, that means there are people not in the community. So like, how do we make a more, productive conversation out of that? What do you want to learn more of? We've noticed like folks want to learn a little bit more about the technical stuff. So for example, loops. Can I get a quick hands? Who would like to learn how loops wise? We can talk about that later. Let's do that. After this workshop, we'll have some time for us to practice. Like, would this space be open after?
We have our annual general meeting
Starting at 4 or 3:30?
starting at 4, but we have to set up.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, no worries. Yeah, I just want to check in. I'm glad I asked you. Yeah, we'll find some. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. Yeah. So Nikhil and I both are generous to offer some practice sessions, which a few of you folks have joined. So we'll announce it again on Discord. So yeah, make sure you're in the loop. Okay. Speaking of loops. How can we improve the workshop experience? Thank you again for the wonderful feedback. This is like the first time that we're making it deliberately a series instead of just a one-off. It's like a third iteration. I think you joined the second workshop, did you? Did you join one of the first like version of that, maybe? I don't remember. It's all lost on me. But thank you all for coming again. It's wonderful to have a group of people from different kinds of walks and knowing that there's something there and joining together and be open-minded and listening and taking things in. I really like the question someone asked, how does DJing help you better understand yourself? It's so existential, like not like like we need to get a drink after this. Like I don't have the answer. Like I don't know, but I think it's like I don't know. Does anybody have anything to say? Like I feel like it's really in the doing. Like yeah.
I think DJing helps me better understand what I want and also like what I want to dance to, what I want to, what I need from the music. But then it also makes me think about others and what others need. So in that way, it's sort of introspective and extrospective. What is the word? There's another word.
Let's make that word up. Hey, but yeah, that's a great point too. Yeah, it's like conversation. It's more like give and take. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was my question.
Okay.
There was another one I had section, which is about like understanding DJing as like an extension of artistic practice. So I think it relates in a way of like to different perspectives on DJ culture. So like I think you guys have emphasized this, how there's this like idea of the DJ, and that we're all kind of outside of that, and until we kind of you can democratize it so that anyone can be part of it, no matter like who they are or what kind of music they like or what have you. But I think the thing that the journey for this workshop for me has been around like, oh, I might not be someone who ever owns fancy DJing equipment or is like playing the clubs all the time or whatever, but there's still like all the different things that I do in life, like how I'm a friend to people, how I
totally.
make art, how I am in my job or my
Yeah.
community or whatever, like that can be reflected in how I'm a DJ.
Totally.
So it's like another tool of self-awareness or
Totally.
self-reflection,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, I want to, how, to Zara's point, like how generous do you want to be as a DJ? Like how much is it about like exploring your own likes, and then how much of it is a conversation with your audience, and that is a reflection of who you are as a person, maybe where you land on that spectrum.
Yeah.
But also that might change too, right? At one point you might be someone who is like really just exploring like what do I like, and then at another point in time it's more like, oh, I want this to be a conversation. So
Totally.
I think it can provide
Yeah.
like a lens. I think
Yes.
DJing can provide a lens.
Yeah. It's like, I think to pick up on that, I think the first workshop we talked about, do you think Hamilton is a musical city? But now thinking back, I think that's a really poor question to ask, because a musical city is made up of musical lives. It's made up of musical people. But how do we live a musical and cultural life? I think that's like we have to live it before we have to live it and doing it at the same time. So like you have to live and think through a DJ lens, but also like trying to curate a more musical life, however you want to define in your capacity. See if you're a writer, see if you're a researcher, like I'll put everyone in the spot, but like sometimes I feel the stuff that in my 9-to-5 job, it feels so siloed. It feels like, oh, I'm just clocking in my job, but like there are little gaps and like cracks here we can kind of like sneak in some fun personality about like how are we behaving in this world as like a creative person. But that is like a really good existential thing to ask. We're both Pisces, I know that. So that's why I'm like, I have a feeling that we're talking about this. But thank you for the questions. Thank you. Do you have anything to add before we do? Yeah?
Yeah, so the trend definitely for what do you want to learn more of and how can we improve the workshop experience. I also take on more playtime because in facilitating the workshop too, I realized like that we don't have on the basis of the time limit of the workshop, we don't have enough time for everyone to go on the decks, and I feel like that is definitely like the most fun part of DJing as well, is just actually playing stuff. And that's why Jeff and I have opened up our places to for people to come and jam and have an hour on the set in a little bit more private setting. If you do want to continue working on a mix and learn more things, and have one-on-one time as well. I saw that one of the notes was also to have one-on-one time, so it's you can ask direct questions on loops, scratching. I need to learn that myself. So that was great that someone wrote that, because if we won't be able to help you unless we know how to do it either.
Yeah.
And yeah, technical practice, more playtime, all that. I feel like Jeff and I need to put a little bit more effort into creating more spaces where you can come and use the equipment. And we are also working on buying a piece of equipment which will be open as a tool library. So we can open up a Google form and people can just borrow the equipment for a span of 1 to 2 weeks.
Yeah. And they can record it straight out from there too. Yes.
Have you ever considered like a residency?
I'll connect with you with that. Yeah. That's a great idea.
But I mean, like in different like spaces. Where
Yeah, totally.
equipment lives,
The-
so you don't have to open up your.
I just have an idea. Like, what if there's a group? We have a group here. Let's say there are 2 people have the capacity in their life. They can host 2 hours a week, and throw it on Discord saying like, "Hey guys, I'm opening up my space. Who can come?" and then it's so like we're distributing and like stretching out the reach more. Like we're kind of cheating the system a little bit instead of like we have to rent a space for that. Toronto has a bunch of that, and you have to pay like $30 for an hour. But there has to be a smarter way for Hamilton. Like we can do it. I think it's a matter of like getting people together and have that conversation and like how do we do that? Yes. Yes. I think that's a great question. I don't have the answer, but I think folks here, I think, have answers to that. So can you post that question at the Discord after on the workshop server? Yes. Oh, hey. Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great idea, actually. Why don't they have a deck there, actually? Yeah. Yeah, why don't they have a deck there? Oh, yes. Yeah. What's the space again? Oh yeah. I know some of the folks there. Yeah. They're doing some fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I won't spare too much detail, but I'll have more a conversation. But I think that's a great reminder too. Like we're collecting some key context in the city. I'm surprised guys are feeling really invigorated about the question. Let's stay in that excited phase right now. Okay, but we want to switch gears to how do we get ready? So for folks who haven't signed up for the final showcase, still take as much as possible for this coming part. Yeah. Code, collecting, organizing, distill, and expressing. This is coming from like a productivity kind of framework. It's blah blah blah. But like I think it's so useful in the DJ world as well. Also, any kind of curatorial practice, we're always collecting. So, but I want to emphasize with the idea that we're collecting, organizing, and distilling, with the eventual goal of expressing it somewhere. That will come out. That will reiterate what that really means in just a second. But we're ready to talk about collecting. We have been collecting music. We have already been doing that. And listening is collecting. Listening is part of your day-to-day. But what does it mean to collect it differently? The reason why Spotify is taking a lot of space is, I can only speak for myself. Spotify is still a big part of my current listening habits. I think there's a problem with that, especially with the recent change that tracks have less than 1,000 plays. Artists would not be paid for that. And also with a lot of different policies that it's a tech company. It's a business that they're running. Like especially streaming era, we actually as consumers we have the say. We have a little bit of a say and a growing say as how we can shape that the way that we consume music. I'm not saying that we get rid of Spotify. I'm just saying that it's growing a consciousness and growing an awareness of how we can collect through a DJ lens. Okay. Quick hands. Spotify. Who's on it? Oh, what do you guys use? I wonder. Apple Music. Yes, keep forgetting. Yes, there we go. Apple Music. Bandcamp. Can I get a quick raise of hands? Bandcamp. There's a slide coming up for Bandcamp, so we'll do a little bit of intro there. Obviously, there are other ways of collecting music. And if you are signed up for the CFMU, you can actually use cassettes and CDs and aux cord. So it can straight coming out from your Spotify playlist or your laptop music player. So You don't need to learn how to do CDJs or XDJs even. You're just putting things on, but you know that you put it on. You know that you choose the music from the start. You know that you have the intention of curating that set from the get-go. Anything you want to add? Maybe we can go to the next one. Yeah. Bandcamp. I love Bandcamp. Loser is someone who's like, is into like, he has a little bit more experience of like this self-publishing musicians rely on this, but also really well-known artists, they also do Bandcamp releases. I love Bandcamp. From the left, it's you get emails from your favorite artists that will notify you when they have releases. That they don't really put, some of them, they don't put it on Spotify. So I think that's when the fun is. When people ask you like, where can I find this? Like, no, it's not on Spotify. Like, there's a little bit of gatekeeping fun there, like little cheekiness, but you're also like saying like, hey, how about you go check out Bandcamp? Like, how do you want to support that artist for $1, or you can buy out the whole album. You can buy out just the track itself for $1. But then you actually get to keep everything in the app. It's like Spotify, but knowing that you own every track that you bought, and knowing that you actually have that catalog in the really convenience in your phone, that is like a really sweet spot to land. And then in the middle, it's like you can creep up on your friends on what they're looking at and what they're buying and what they're listening to, so that you can so when you follow a bunch of DJ friends, you don't need to ask what it is because you already have it. So you can also like wish list it, and then you can actually buy it on one of the Bandcamp Fridays. So one Friday every month, it's called Bandcamp Friday. So a lot of musicians, they will publish their music specifically that day so that they can keep all the proceeds. But that being said, Bandcamp is also a corporation, right? Like they have some layoffs recently, which like sparks the whole controversy itself. But like we can't escape consumerism itself. But like, how do we again grow a consciousness about how do we consume music differently? So stuff like that. Follow me on Bandcamp. Yeah. So let's go down a little bit. SoSeek. Piracy, I think we touched on a little bit. I see some smirks. It's called SoSeek. SoSeek is a platform. I'm not going to describe it. I'll let you figure out yourself. Especially if someone who grew up in the 90s or people before me, we know roughly, you know. It's not so hard, okay? It's not you, because it's free doesn't mean that you can use it with discretion. You have to download really with intention and like start, be a little bit mindful about give and take, you know. And then on SoSeek itself, you have to share before you can download. So I'll leave it at that. Is that okay? Yeah. This is a more like a conversation that we can have. Like we're getting into really nitty gritty. So I'm happy to, Nikhil and I, and also some folks here can talk more about SoSeek or how to get your music in other places in a second. Collecting is 80% of the work. So for the rest of the process, really short and simple, but collecting is the start of everything. You already have a playlist lined up, you're already planning a set, you have a rough idea, you planned out like a 3-track thing earlier the last workshop. That's a start, right? Like you already have a gaseous idea about what the set will sound like. So keep exploring that and start pulling out tracks and putting them into a place, whether it's a Spotify playlist, whether it's on Rekordbox, whether it's on Apple Music or whatever, whether it's just the files itself. Collecting, it's the start of everything. Nikhil, do you want to speak more of the artist, like the bullet point below?
Yeah, so all the resources that we talked about on the other slides, you can start collecting. Basically, once you found these resources, it's just a matter of putting stuff into folders, and then you can collect on the basis of artists that you like. You can just go and lurk an artist and collect to collect a folder of all these tracks. Also, like Jeff said, listening is collecting. So when you go on YouTube and if you go to shows, Shazam stuff, ask the artist for their track list. You can go on YouTube comments and look at the track IDs. There's always someone doing the work of putting what tracks are being played. That's how you will find different things that you start liking as well. So these are just different ways to collect. Also genres, that is a very ambiguous thing in my opinion. I just like to just play whatever and not get bogged down within genres. But that's a very easy way to search on Bandcamp as well. Bandcamp has a really good search feature where you can search genres, you can search cities. You can just type Hamilton, Ontario, and then it's gonna give you all these different genres, indie artists, independent artists, punk, house, electronic. You can search by genres, and then that's another way to collect different music. And then we're gonna go into organizing, and that these things, all these different things will kind of meld into how you're organizing your songs. And once you have a whole bunch of music downloaded, because when we talk about Rekordbox here, one of the things and the caveat is you need to have MP3 files. Unless you buy some sort of equipment that comes with a built-in software where you can link Spotify, SoundCloud, or any other streaming service, the biggest caveat for DJs is to actually have MP3 files. And that's why we were emphasizing and talking about SoulSeek and Bandcamp, because those are the places where you can download and get MP3 files. The easiest way to start thinking about mixing and organizing is to just look at BPMs, just to start your journey. Songs that are closer to each other in the speeds or the BPM, they're easier to mix. They usually blend very well. That's when you don't have to think too much about the genre. Once you start collecting different music of your own taste and you download it, you can put that into the software here. Do you want to talk more about the interface here?
Yeah.
And then once all the files are in there, as you can see, this is Jeff's collection. Regardless of the genre, you can organize tracks based on the BPM and the keys. So you don't really have to worry about
So, to jump off of Nikhil's point about starting collecting, this is just to use Rekordbox as an example. It can be very different for you, whether you're playing all on vinyl, you're playing all on cassettes, on CDs. So I won't spend too much time, but I just want to point out that like where to start things. Put everything in one folder. I just call it DJ library. So whenever I have some new stuff that I just bought or downloaded, I would drag it, let's say this, to your collection, but making sure that they're all coming from one folder, just for convenience sake. So that will, let's say, so date added. So let's say these are from Jack, that's from yesterday, right? Hey, let's listen to this. We won't be able to listen because it's not connected, but let's say you just loaded this, okay? So it will tell you, it's like an Excel sheet really. You can get to see the BPM, key, you can move things forward, backwards, depending on how it suits you. You can also introduce back to different kind of data types. That will come out in, well, I'll explain more in detail in just a second. So they're all here, okay? And you can click and sort by BPM. So let's say you're doing a night, you want something that is like 133, okay? So like you just go back and start, they're already here for you. How do we organize? Remember when we say organize with the ultimate goal of expressing it. So Nikhil and I were doing like, hey, we sat down and say like, let's just play 100 to 120 the whole night. There's something called intelligent playlist. What's so intelligent about it? It's not actually that intelligent. Let's say 120 to 125. It's basically a smart way for you to set up a criteria. Let's say BPM from in the range of 120 to 125. The system will pull up, oh, already existed. How original. That's 126. Just to broaden the scope just a little bit. There we go. So it will pull up all the tracks that fits into that criteria that you set out. So you are organizing, like I said, this is a way for you to pull in a big pool of tracks. Let's say Nikhil and I are doing an event, just the two of us. 3 hours. How many tracks are we playing? Probably like, let's say like 80, 80 to 100. So we will have a jam session where we're like, hey, talk about what are the sounds, what are the palette that we're looking for, what are some key artists that really represents the night, what time are we gonna drop it in? Do they have stuff that falls out of this range? So this can get really like collaborative in a way that, you can start pulling tracks out. So my habit, maybe you guys can have different habits too, is that let's say let's say Nikhil and I are putting together a list together. So I'm gonna start pulling this list into the night that we're playing, night with Nikhil. Something like that sounds sexy. Seduction, right? Oh my God. So this is where the fun happens. You're organizing. It can be fun. Let's make it fun. And I think this also applies when you are doing your radio set, right? You can set up these like little playlists. You can narrow down your search easier. Intelligent Playlists also can say that by artist, saying that you want to play by artist that contains a specific word. Let's say I'm looking for Ron Trent, but I'm just gonna put in Ron. It will pull out whatever, it doesn't really fit. But I think this is kind of beautiful because sometimes it brings you out really interesting results. So that you can, even though I'm specifically looking for tracks that by Ron Trent, but I mean, there's also so much more like available. So these are little fun things that you can set out, but obviously this is just Rekordbox, so everyone's different. This is also for you to explore and decide what works for you. But it can get messy sometime. You can always clean it up as you go. Yes, Jen. Yeah. So right now we're looking into this specific playlist, unnamed. I should have named it. But if you click on collection, it will show up all the tracks that you have. Is that what you're asking? And then when you're doing like a search by name, yeah. So like it's right here. Yeah, right here. Yeah. Yes. Another thing that's helpful is tags here. So you can also set up different tags and let's say I'm gonna tag this as deep house. So all of these tags are communicated with each other. So let's say I have a deep house intelligent playlist. So I have like intelligent playlists here by genre. Jeff's Secret Weapon. They're not that secret. This is not gatekeeping. Take a picture, it'll last longer. But then the way that this intelligent playlist is set up, it's whatever tag that contains deep house, it will be automatically pulled in. So you're not, when tracks have two different genres, they can live in two different playlists. So that when you are playing in person, you have the flexibility to go into different crates and find whatever fits you. But going back to the point of collecting is 80% of the work, it's curated already. Your collection is yours. It represents what you like, and at least we're not wedding DJs, so we don't know. We have a general understanding of what our palette is. So when it comes to organizing, it can be really fun, but it can also be really meticulous. I have something called Untagged, which is something that I need to catch up on. I don't even know where it is now. It's been a while. Yeah. Any questions about organizing? Nikhil, do you have anything to add?
I was wondering, like, how long, like, usually, how many tracks, so like the max amount of tracks in one playlist?
I mean, if you, Nikhil, do you want to take that?
Yeah, so it depends on how much you want to experiment. Let's say, so when we were preparing for the Music for Thursday event, I knew that I was just gonna play 1 hour, but when I started making the playlist, it ended up being 6 hours long. Because I just wanted to have some room. That depends on what Jen asked. What you find out about yourself when you're DJing is we all have different personality traits. To be like, well, I am type A, so I'm just gonna be ready for all this stuff. This is what I'm gonna play.
Track by track.
I am type C, which is chaotic. So I just like to do, I'll start organizing things and then I'll get lost in the sauce and then just have a whole bunch of different tracks. So that does depend. Ideally, you just want to have a small playlist of maybe, let's say if you're playing an hour, so you want maybe 1.5 hours, 2 hours as an ideal situation. So you have some room to work with. And once you make the playlist, the next thing is gonna be distilling it, is what we're gonna go on to next. So once you've collected the songs, you're gonna organize them. Let's say this is an organization. And then you're gonna distill it, meaning you're going to start practicing and mixing things. And we're gonna give a quick demo of like how this Rekordbox software works too, without the controller. So you can just do that on your computer. And so that there's a bunch of factors that depend. Also, like in the way that my collection went when I first started several years ago, I just went off as soon as I found out these resources on how to download music. I ended up downloading way more music than I'm ever gonna like listen to on my computer. So I am a hoarder. I was a hoarder. I'm still a hoarder. I didn't delete any of the stuff because there's a lot of good stuff there. So my collection is really, really long. And that's why like I had to step back and I started making playlists on the basis of, okay, just what's the mood for tonight? Is it a afternoon jam session? Is it a radio set? Is it a dance music set? Is it like weird experimental stuff? And then you give yourself some parameters. Work with parameters that you want to work with. We can always guide you to be like, oh, well, I did it this way. You can try it that way. But yeah, if you're planning an hour-long set, give yourself an extra hour of songs. Because you're not also, like, it's going to give you the times there. As you can see on the right, there's the other signature, which are time signatures. So the first track is 7 minutes long. You're not going to play the whole song. So if it says that your playlist is an hour long, you can assume that you're going to play about 30 to 35 minutes of those songs there because you're going to be transitioning. Unless you're radio DJing where you are going to fade in and fade out tracks, where you might be playing at least 50 to 55 minutes of those songs. So always give yourself some room to work with. I also just make multiple playlists for the same event, so I can shuffle in between different playlists, and that's just again me just being a little bit chaotic.
I think this is more like when it comes to in-person playing, dancing. I think this is where it's really modular. So I'm pulling up this playlist that we planned together. So this is the past Thursday. So I have 160. This is the big pool, but then I'm distilling. So right now we're at distilling. We have all these conversations with Nikhil. Like, this is how the night's gonna go. What's the sound gonna look like? What's the shape of it? How intense it's gonna get. So there are the way that I'm learning how to do it is like I want to pair up tracks that I know that will sound great together, almost as like a pair or a trio. I know that I will start with these three because I don't want to freak out on scrambling tracks to start. I want to build some reassurance, but after the three, I'm gonna read the room space and like have some flexibility, and I think this is where the playing starts. Especially the transition from like bedroom DJing to like space playing, people will know if you are playing track by track or are you playing with them. This is we're getting into the really nitty gritty, but in your when you're planning your radio sets, you can plan out track by track, but then this is something you kind of learn and kind of like slowly curate. So I didn't play obviously didn't play all of it, but the way that I organized it, I only played like the first like 27, something like that. But all the other rest are, you know, spices or flavorings that I can add on during the event. So, yeah, I feel like we're talking too much about like in person playing. Yeah.
And these questions are definitely going to arise, and we can't all address it right now. So whenever we do these jam sessions and in-person or just practice sessions at our places, or if we find a place to do that outside of our homes, definitely bring these things up. And because all these different softwares, our tastes are very different. The way that Jeff is making playlists
Yes.
is different than from the way that I do. My playlists just have some weird names, so it's very specific to like what I think is going on in my brain, but it might not translate onto the BPM or the type of songs that I'm selecting. So if that's when like the one-on-one sessions will be helpful too. So we can find out what kind of vibes, how do you organize, and then how you can use a model that we're giving to organize it yourself. And also the intention, like what are we working towards, if it's a radio set or a dance set.
Yeah. Maybe this is more pertaining to you guys. Radio style. So this is something that will be a little bit more concrete. You plan out exactly when to mix out and mix in. So let's say my radio hour, it's gonna concretely mix in. I'm gonna mix in this with this from here. This is where the organizing and planning starts. So if you're there already, great stuff. That's a great start. So think about the order. You can always move things around. You can. This can also happen on your Spotify. You move your order. That's really really simple and easy. But if you really want to lean into the more like mixing the EQ and the equalizer and stuff like that, experiment with Rekordbox as well. So you can do everything on the keyboard. I haven't mastered keyboard DJing just yet, but something that maybe needs another course. You can listen to it on your headphones. You can hear how it's gonna mix. You can turn off the different EQs. If you guys can see where my mouse is, you can turn off different EQs. You just need to like use your mouse to drag it. There has to be a smarter way to drag it, but you can kind of know how the mix is gonna sound like just by putting things together here. Okay. Any questions?
One thing that I will say, when you're just starting to make a playlist for a set, or any like a radio set or a DJ set, to ease some tension for yourself, it worked for me as well, where plan maybe a small mini mixes within your mix. Plan 3 or 4 songs, like Jeff said. He knows he's gonna start with these 3 songs. Just practice those first. Just try mixing those in. Take a break, then find a few more tracks that kind of go with each other, and then think about collaging it all together later on the spot. You can just prepare a whole hour and then keep practicing it over and over again. The more you practice, the more it's more good, the better it's gonna sound. But I also don't practice as much. So in order to just counter that, and if you're nervous about it, just figure out small sets. Just figure out 3 or 4 songs that are gonna go with each other. And then you know that those things work, and then you have room to experiment in between those different sets. And then you have another small section where like, oh, this is like a nice transitional songs. The percussions are the same. There's some vocals that go into each other. There's a long transition that can happen. So in order to prepare, just prepare small mini mixes to ease some tension for yourself before you start thinking like, I need to play the whole hour. So how is the whole hour gonna go? That feels like a lot of pressure to just start with. And again, when you practice more, better you're gonna get at that.
Yes, totally. I have more to add to respond to that in just a second. But distilling, this is really specific to Rekordbox, so it might not work for you, but I know that some folks have already started with exporting music to their USB. We don't, like sometimes USB are a little wonky and like they don't really work with specific machines but we'll find some solution. So again, we rely on folks here to share knowledge, like share what type of USB you're using and like how is it working. But there are tons of resources available online in terms of like how do you get started with it. But if you're playing on CDs or if you're just playing straight from the aux cord, you don't really need to learn how to do it. But the resources are online if you want to know how to do it. Expressing, this is where the final, yes, Jen. Yes. Great, I almost forgot. Yes, you did raise this question. So you can record it. So Traktor, you can also record it. Traktor is a similar software that we're seeing. You can record it here. Is it here? I think that it's free now, right? I think so. Oh, you have to plug in. Okay, then we can make it work. We can practice at our place and record it at the same time. Let's do it, right? Like, or
Or just rip the pro version.
you rip the version. I have a ripped version that I can share with folks as well. So that's helpful. You know, we're resourceful people. We're also poor people. Yes, exactly. I think that's the point. Jen, can I ask you if you can send a reminder on the cohort server, the cohort channel? Yeah. Okay. Play expressing. We made it at the end. We're playing. We're experimenting. We're taking informed risk, and also acknowledging that you are doing it. Because once you press that play button, there's no going back, honey. Like, it's okay if you make mistakes. There's so much mistakes happen on the radio, and it's so forgiving. People are nice. People are people. Like it's okay. And then recording, sharing it with your friends, telling that you are doing the thing, and then how you can be that nerd that shares music with people. I guess. Yeah.
Just to add on to the take informed risks and making mistakes too, just remember that everyone has really short attention spans. So they're just gonna forget what you did. And there might be some nerds standing close by watching exactly what you're doing. But that's just the nature of DJing. And then think of that as a critique, and that's a good pressure for you to do better as well. But definitely make mistakes. Listen to all the other mixes that are on the radio. I've made a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of dead air at times, but that's just an motivation for you to be like, you don't have to be. This is not Coachella. Like, it's not like you're not getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this. Not right now, but so that's if you're starting as a beginner, then don't give yourself way too much of a ceiling. Give yourself room to make mistakes and make errors and stuff. You're also just gonna forget what you did 15 minutes ago. And then unless you record it, which I forgot to record, I'm gonna say the night went great. And that's and then you just move on to the next thing.
Totally. Yeah. I'm the other hand, like I punish myself for making the mistake. But do it before you're ready. This is a call for folks who haven't signed up. I know that some folks already confirmed, like you can fill out the form again. But for folks who haven't signed up the form, I really encourage you to sign up so that we can work together and have have a recording of your workshop experience at the end of June and onwards, actually. But if you're not ready to commit yet, there is an option on the form that let you verbalize that you're not ready. I think that's important because you're letting me know that you're not ready, so I can actually ask you and have a how can we get there? Or like, if that's something that interests you, then we can kind of work it towards that. So that's expressing. Okay, we're at the final stretch of today. We're doing good with time. So I'm just gonna power through these, make it really short and simple. What we've been doing fits into this, like, I think that like a conversation, right? Like DJing is like lecturing with music. Workshopping is DJing with ideas. Like we can think about it as like we're scrapbooking. We're scrapbooking with music. We're just getting folks together and just getting our brains activated. And think about DJing as like an organizing principle and not too much of like being on top of the stage and like doing fist bumping. There's like a bigger culture that we're tapping into, which I'm so grateful that you guys are really like on the ride and like understanding it and beginning to understand, and also being so open how to build a musical life. Chances are you have already been DJing, so that means you have already been listening to music all your life. But now that you have the ultimate goal of expressing it in terms of a radio set, now you can craft maybe an hour a week or 2 hours a week and like start pulling tracks together. And at the end of the week you might have like more than you need, which and then you go back to editing your set. And then ask yourself these questions like, why am I making this decision? And then, so that when you are ready, you have everything set up, and you just need to export it and play it, stuff like that. I feel like I'm jumping it really quickly. There's also a big part, I think, like now that we're starting to do in-person dancing events, it's also like organizing the events. Curating what it's gonna look like, and also befriending with new folks here, and knowing that you guys are interested in these kind of knowledge. I think that's super important as well. Teaching, I find so much gratitude and fulfillment just from teaching, this is my call for other folks to collaborate in the future again. So that the workshop next time would be very different, but I'm interested to explore further as well. Culture, this is where we're at. Where are we? Like, if you can put yourself somewhere in this map, is it just one point that you're in? Like, I think we exist in multitudes. We exist in so many, depending on the day of the time, depending on your age, like you progress, you have different stakes in all these different things. Like, where do you stand in this culture when we think about making Hamilton a musical city? It's such a big question, but I think that's the beauty of it, is like the movement, the fluidity. So if we're answering our own question of like, how do we make Hamilton a musical city, it becomes tiring when the question should be like, how do we live a more conscious and musical life? And I think it's about connecting the dots. Is there public transport for us to have a nightlife? Is there public transport for us to go to that vinyl store that we really like? We always want to check it out, but I don't drive. I don't know. Are nighttime spaces accessible? How do we advocate for people who want to go to a club, but there's no ramps or spaces in it? What about like partying outdoors? Are city policies supporting that? In club spaces, there are a lot of it's a male-dominated space. Like, how, as we're doing the work we're doing now, like what is it? We're investing a diverse thing, which is what the thing is, but I think that's also fine, right? Like, now as like I don't want to talk about myself. Like, maybe I shouldn't talk about myself actually. Like, I always find it so like weird as a male, like a queer person of Asian descent. Like, I think I see music very differently, and I think I see it from the margins. And like, whenever I walk into a room, I look for my people, and I want to see like, hey, I can not just be myself, but I can be myself with other people. And I think I'm really grateful that Thursday was really important for me because I feel like a lot of folks get to do that. So yeah, I think that's just a beautiful thing that I think there's something there to be tapped into. Think about like how gender comes into play with like living a musical life. Like, are certain genres being gatekept because of gender biases or gender-based like biases, stuff like that, or certain expectations about you're not a great DJ because you're a certain of a gender expression, or you're not a house DJ because you don't come from that kind of background. But we're there's so much myths that we make up. We're trying to unmake some of those things. Yes. Oh, venues. Come on, spelling. Let's talk about Venus. But venues, I mean, like we were approached to do another night. But from their perspective, it's a business. What happens if club owners are not from the scene? How do artists advocate for themselves? Like, who can jump in and make collaborative decisions, right? So we're living in our own little spot, but we're actually living in this culture where there's so many people we can connect, and like dots can connect to each other. And I think this is the beauty of doing this workshop, and just people from different backgrounds I would have never met, and like I'm so glad friendships are happening within the cohort, and that's a really great start too. But I think this is where the culture we're tapping into. Quickly about culture, scene, community. This is again by Elijah, which I really strongly recommend folks to check out. His Instagram, it's called the Yellow Square Project, which is about like organizing UK rave culture and nighttime spaces. And he does a lot of documentation through these yellow squares and like really simple illustrations as a way to talk about culture and talk about like how really broad statements, and a lot of people actually disagree from them in this comment section. And I think a lot of the conversations happen really organically in the comment section. But I want to draw attention to the scene, the top two ones. The scene that we're having it right now, it's not just here, but it can be also your scene too. Let's say you are a sewer. Let's say you're like a public art or like a gallery and like a arts organization person. We all have our little scene, right? Like it's not just DJing. It's like you have your own thing going on. How is information flowing in that scenario? How is your community or scene look like right now? And I think this is something that, like, as we're approaching the end of the workshop, I think the work that we kind of have done for the past few months has been spreading things out. Again, teaching it while we're learning it. I think that's part of like the beauty of it, because like people will branch out and do their own thing. I think that's so beautiful too. Who was at the eclipse? Who watched the eclipse? Assuming everybody did, with some few exceptions. That was so beautiful, right? We can all agree that something is beautiful, and there's something happening in front of our eyes. We're all looking at the same thing. We're all experiencing the same thing. But I think like when the eclipse finished, like everybody just branch out their own path that they were familiar with. I think that's also beautiful too. But yeah, like we can all agree on something, whatever that something is. Maybe not an eclipse. Really similar to what like the previous slide. This scene is not just the DJs; it's also bartenders, bus drivers, dancers and teachers, and people who kind of build the work a little bit more at the back. So not everybody have an equal footing in everything, but they're also really important to like acknowledge that those work make the scene possible. Document. I want to talk about documenting. There might be a possibility that Places project is not there. It's not going to be forever. What happens if let's say I'm moving back home. Like I'm moving back home tomorrow. There's no traces of this project ever happen. If we don't document it, it never happened. So what happens if let's say Jack want to take a stab on this project and hypothetically kind of use this concept and do it himself. If there's no documentation, there's also this extra time to learn it again, develop all those contexts. But then the reason why I'm recording today's set because I want to start doing that documenting, and just for whether it's for myself or for the group, and also for just for history's sake. Final 2 slides here. Resources. Thoughts on getting a new channel. It's called Resources, where we can it's basically like a recommendation, the Rex channel that we have, but it's just sharing, reading, and also PDFs. This is a free resource from the account that we follow. What is his name?
Digital DJ tips.
Digital DJ tips. He wrote about this. So timeless, and it's written from a perspective of basically what we covered in the past few workshops. I can share the PDF, and I think the document thing, the document concept that I touch on is from this reading that I was shared from the writer Emma Warren, who also did some collaborating with Elijah that I just spoke of. It's a really interesting read on how do you document and tell your story about the culture that you're in. And obviously, keep listening. There's so much good shit out there that are not in Hamilton, but I think, get inspired and start collecting. And keep, being active on the channel. It's a big part of, getting it out there, getting your voice heard, or verbalizing what you like to see. Yeah. Yes. Now we spoiled it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay. I just wanted to say, in terms of resources too, the thing that's still lingering in my mind is the more playtime. Folks are asking for more playtime. So whenever please stay active on Discord. And if we are opening up resources or dates that people can come over to our places, or if we do find another spot where you can come and just mess around with the controller for an hour. This is strictly speaking with just learning the technical skills on the DJing. A lot of people have told me that unless you actually play on it, it's very hard for you to grasp what is going on. And you can prepare for it on Rekordbox. That's another thing is that if you come prepared, you will we can have easier and faster conversations about the technical aspects, EQs, loops, scratching, transitions, and stuff. So please stay active on Discord. Let us know what we can do. Like you've said us today, things that you do want to learn. If you put pressure on us to open up those resources, we will do it. It also gives us encouragement and motivation to just DJ ourselves as well. It's a great way to collaborate and share music. Another thing is just sharing as well. DJing is basically just sharing your music. So this is the Discord channel that we're on right now, the more music that you share with everybody, people are gonna be encouraged. People might find out similar, you like listening to similar music. You can share your playlists. If you have a lot of MP3s, please share them, bring your USBs. We can share MP3s with each other. All these small obstacles that stop you from DJing, there's just a few things that you need to act on. And Again, stay active on Discord. Whenever we put out calls for people to come and have jam sessions, just sign up for it. We both live very close downtown, and soon we might have a DJ controller for just people bring as a library. So once we have that on, we might start like a document where people can sign up and bring the controller home and practice it yourself as well. Those things are just gonna be up to effort from your end as well. And we do realize like there's not enough time for us to just let everyone play on the controller here. So that's why we're trying to open up other resources outside of this space. But it is gonna be up to you to take the initiative and reach out and pull up for that.
Pull up.
Yep.
Pull up. We'll find a smart way to do it that is intuitive and also low stakes. Maybe they should really do a library thing over Republic. Over for the public. Yes. How do we get there? I'll find something. We'll make it work. We'll connect. We'll connect.
Audio room.
Yeah. They should totally do it. Yes.
I know that I've also rented from Ron and McQuaid.
Oh, so you brought your own to there?
So if just putting two and two together, I can
Right.
just potentially just play out of there.
Yeah.
And they also have equipment.
Oh my god.
I haven't. Oh, it's actually yeah. It's already coming out.
Yeah.
Or they have a live video.
What
as
if-
well, so that could even transition.
What if we do like a library rave? I'm gonna set up a big table and then like DJing from my laptop, and then people can plug in their headphones and just like and just like dance privately. That's fun. That's fun. Anywho, more dreaming to do. May 9th, Music for Thursday. That Thursday, May 9th, we're doing it. Pull up. Should we make a communal playlist? Like everybody submits something. Like we put out like a prompt and like people respond to it. Like what I don't know, an idea. We'll think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be nice if everyone sent us the music that they would like to listen to at the club on May 9th, and
Yeah.
we can try to mix that in.
Yeah. This and then you. Yeah. Come through. It's music for Thursday, not music for Friday. Not music for Saturday either. You know the rest. But it's like a little easy listening, little medium easy listening, but you know, and like we're doing things different. So it's not really like the high intensity techno stuff. No shade, but yes. Thank you for coming. I want to congratulating you for graduating. Yeah, no, that won't be a certificate. We should have a certificate. God damn it. No, we should actually do it. We should actually do it. I want to do like a year-end trophy award ceremony. We're like make up like do dollar store trophies like best DJ that plays house within 120 and 135. And it's like so targeted. Or I don't know, like it can be some like best first radio set ever, like or something like that. But yeah, thank you for coming. And this is not the end. There's more follow-up about your playing, your cohort. More info will like consolidated for what the cohort will look like, and how eventually some of you might be invited to teach again and like co-facilitate and do your workshop as well. However it fits into your scene. What if there's like sewing and music put together? Like what does that look like? You know, what is like researching, writing, and music look like together? So don't think of it as like the end, but like think about what kind of different things that can happen from it. So cheesy. Come on. Yes.
Was there something going on at this camp tonight?
Yeah. Vanya, they're launching the zine vending machine later tonight. So Nikhil and Vanya will be playing music for 2 hours. So stick around. 6 to 8, I believe. Yes. And then we'll take down, but let's connect. We'll, as usual, I will clear up the space. We'll kindly ask you guys if you can put up the chairs again. And if anyone wants to join us for a little tea, we can also do that to answer any questions or set things up for you guys. But final thing to say is to sign up for the sign up form.
Can I just say?
Yes.
I'm not going to speak on behalf of the group, I'll just speak on behalf of myself, but I wanted to thank you guys as well, from the bottom of my heart. Everyone, you can see the smiling eyes all around. You guys are doing really incredible community work. It's incredible on all fronts. Completely free, which makes it accessible, that you're doing your best to be in these accessible spaces, in these safe spaces where we're wearing masks and stuff like that you're opening up your homes to all of us, that you're really invested, and I think creating a really amazing sort of community from like a grassroots point. And this work is so valuable, and I also want you guys to be able to continue offering it for free, but I recognize that getting spaces where you can sort of operate for free, and all that is challenging. So I would encourage you, and I would like to also inquire as to how we can sort of fundraise for sort of different efforts, how we can donate, whatever, pay whatever we can, like contribute whatever we can, whatever is feasible for,
Yeah.
for us as individuals. Just so that you can continue doing this really amazing work and building on what you're doing. I'm available to have more conversations about this. Jen is also an incredible resource on those kinds of like developing
Yeah, totally.
this sort of venture that you guys have embarked upon. But yeah, just as the community grows, we want to continue to support you in the work that you're doing.
Thank
And
you.
so thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, like you said, like since we're just a grassroots situation right now, personally, it just gives me a lot of hope that people are at least showing up and sticking around and sharing. But that conversation does tend to come up amongst ourselves to be like, okay, we've spent all this time and labor, and how are we gonna break even? And we're slowly working on being a little bit more expressive about those kinds of things and opening up some pay what you can situations, maybe for future workshops. You can always show up to any events and stuff that we do. We might have a bunch more stickers and stuff. Any small things, they definitely help. And yeah, if you have resources to share with us, feel free to do that as well. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up. It's something that we need to think a little bit more about as well to be sustainable.
This is a sticker.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is a website, so this is only the start. So you can always support us by doing like a one-time donation. I think some of you folks donated, which I am so appreciative of it. Anything goes, anything with support. And again, super appreciative. I think this is where the archiving, documenting starts. So let's say you want to write about a night that you went out that you really like. So, and then some of the writing can exist online, so people can participate and appreciate your craft and also appreciate your contribution. Also sharing some resources, and hopefully we can, get away from the CFMU radio, but actually do it more in-house. so we can. It's not like a Thursday middle of the night. Like it's like not everybody can do it, but being it more, flexible and like more creative with the way that we want to do it. I forgot I wanted to share something. This is it. This is the back door of Hamilton Artists Inc. If exiting, please ask someone to lock this behind you. Like, we're building this culture of like, hey, someone's before you, someone's after you. Like, hey, can we document something and like share with like people? Just thinking about that. I think there's something specific, like special about that too. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you
Great.
for
Give
coming.
yourself a round of applause.
And yeah, stay active on Discord.
Yeah, we're a little bit past time, so I was gonna say something. This will be recorded. Some folks are not able to join us, but this will be recorded. This has already been recorded, so I'll upload it and things can, people can refer to it later on. Okay, Roger, signing out.